忘れるでないぞ。迷えば破れる。それが戦よ。
少しは成長しておるようだな。やろうか。狼よ。じゃあ、Sekiro。ソロモン。
When I played Elden Ring for the first time a couple of years ago, I remember having no idea what I was doing and getting to market and then getting told to
These foolish ambitions to rest.
about 50 times and then realized, oh wait, this is an open world game, I can explore, level up, come back later and make it much easier. Then when I played Sekiro for the first time, I got to Giniricho, heard about 50 times, then said, well, maybe if I explore and go to optional areas, that will help make the game easier. Well, then I heard about 50 times. This is the core difference between Sekiro and other From Software games. In Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Demon's Souls, Elden Ring, you can level up your character and make your character stronger to overcome the challenges around you. In Sekiro, you mostly don't have this luxury. Well, there are ways to make Sekiro stronger through player beats, sugars, or skill points. These upgrades are relatively modest compared to what you can accomplish by increasing your own skill level as a player. So, as I was dying over and over again, that was the moment that made Sekiro finally click for me. Through repetition, I started to understand the rhythm of its combat, that defense is offense, and that composure is what keeps you alive. There's been a lot of discussion in general around Sekiro's difficulty. Some players believe it is simply too hard to enjoy, while others, it is that very challenge that makes it one of From Software's greatest games. So I wanted to ask, what separates these two experiences? And I think, for me, the answer lies in whether you reduce Sekiro to just its difficulty. Because director Hidetaka Miyazaki said in an interview discussing adding an easy mode that we don't want to include a difficulty selection because we want to bring everyone to the same level of discussion and the same level of enjoyment. In other words, you are supposed to find these games hard. The challenge is part of the appeal. If you were just to breeze past these games with no challenge, you're going to miss a core part of the experience. I don't wanna lie, Sekiro's difficulty is real. But if you are only going to focus on overcoming it, you will miss the beauty, meaning, and design that make that very struggle worth enduring. Once you accept that this challenge is part of the experience, you can start to see everything else Sekiro is offering, its combat, its world, and the tragedy in so much of its story. A couple of minutes ago I talked about how in Sekiro you have no choice but to face the challenges head on and level yourself up as a player. Well, that was a half-truth. While it is true that more so than any other Souls games, the onus is on you to improve your skill, the game does give you plenty of opportunities to bang your head against a wall over and over again. Let's take the Giniricho fight mentioned earlier for example. If you V-line it to the top of Ashina Castle, his movement will seem incredibly overwhelming to you with the barrage of perilous attacks including Mikiri counters, sweep attacks, and grab attacks. But if you explore and pay attention to what previous encounters were trying to teach you, the General will teach you how to counter sweep attacks, the Chained Ogre will teach you how to dodge attacks effectively, and the 7 Ashina Spears will teach you how to Mikiri counter effectively as well. So the great part about these mini-bosses in my opinion is that they teach you these fundamentals of Sekiro's combat at a slower pace that is manageable to a beginner player. So when you fight Giniricho again, you can see that the fight plays out more like a final tutorial for the game to see whether you understand the fundamentals of how to play Sekiro properly and set you up for the rest of the game. The most famous line in Sekiro is "hesitation is a feat." 1, because it just sounds badass, and 2, because it is literally how you must approach the game. The core of Sekiro's combat is composed aggression. It is a rhythmic dance, and this dance is established through the posture system. Essentially, the more you attack and deflect, the more damage you do to the enemy's posture. You damage this posture by attacking or deflecting, which is indicated by the satisfying sound. But the twist is, if you let up this aggression, the enemy's posture will quickly recover and you can lose a lot of the progress you made in the fight. However, the more damage the boss takes, the easier it is to break their posture. I think this is a great way to balance the punishment to the player mistakes, as the longer you survive and the more damage you deal, the easier it will be to get a death blow. Now, I'm gonna take my favorite fight in this game, which is the Owlfather fight at Hirata State, to make a point about the combat. Button smashing won't get you anywhere. So, the Owlfather does this move where he raises his sword, and if you dodge it as the sword goes down, you can get 2 extra hits in. But if you see his sword rising and you dodge too early, his attack transitions to a sweep that is very easy to get hit with. In other words, you must remain composed in the face of an attack that will do a lot of damage. You hesitate and you die. And for me, it's moments like this where you can appreciate how masterful the combat design is in Sekiro. Yes, it's flashy, satisfying, and incredibly fun, but as Sekiro only has 1 weapon, 1 main build, and a modest number of bosses, almost every fight has been fine-tuned to perfection. And this is also why the game needs to be challenging. Take Ishin Ashima, for example. When you try to attack him, he will do a move where he dodges you, and he can either follow up with a quick counterattack or with a grab attack. You must be ready to respond to both of them. Or in his second phase, where he will do this attack where he lights the whole arena on fire, and you have to find a way to deflect or avoid over 10 attacks in a row. Or you can go up to him before he can start his attack and use something like firecrackers to stop it. In this sense, complexity is a two-way street. If Sekiro had the same complexity in its combat, but the enemy's movesets and aggression didn't force the player to utilize the combat to its full capacity, then you will not get the satisfaction from playing the game you otherwise would have. And this is why, when you look beyond the fact you are dying in Sekiro way more than twice, and take a minute to reflect on how and why you are dying, and enjoy the process of learning the masterful combat the game has, you can begin to enjoy the process of learning and realize that victory in this game is a matter of when, not if. In the last section I mentioned how combat complexity has 2 aspects, the depth of the mechanics themselves and how much the enemies push you to use those mechanics. When it comes to level design, a similar concept applies. It's not just about making the area look pretty, but how that area utilizes the space and allows you to engage with the mechanics of the game in interesting ways, and also conveys the story of the world through its environment. Sekiro's level design does all three. Ashina Castle has excellent level design because it is incredibly dense and interconnected to the rest of the world. If you go left from the start, you can go to the abandoned dungeon and then the Senpou temple. If you go on straight ahead and to the top, you will reach Geniricho and progress the story. If you go a bit forward and down to the left, you can go back to the starting area of the game and Ashina Depths. And if you go into the castle and through the back, you can go to the Sunken Valley. Now, it obviously serves the function of connecting the entire world in a great way, but the castle itself also evolves throughout the game 3 times, with the enemies you will find inside the castle, the conversations you will have in the story, and the art direction itself. It's just really cool to see the Ministry and the Ashina clan fighting each other as the game progresses. The dense nature of the castle allows for interesting combat encounters as well, because you're gonna find Nitro assassins on the rooftops and normal enemies on the ground, so you kind of have this verticality and mobility in the combat encounters that you don't really find in many other places in the game. And then there is a Fountainhead Palace. I mean, this place is one of the most beautiful locations I have ever seen in any game I've ever played. But apart from that, it also rewards exploration at every turn with mini-bosses or loot, and slowly opens up to you as you make more progress, allowing for the underwater exploration and completing side quests. And that's one of the most underrated aspects of Sekiro in my opinion. Every area of the game is a joy to explore, from a cursed village in the depths of Ashina, to grappling across giant Buddha statues in the Sunken Valley. Every area rewards exploration and encourages you to use combat art and prosthetics to deal with a large number of enemies. If you rush through these areas just trying to reach the boss at the end, you will miss so much of the beauty that has gone into handcrafting every corner of them. And if you treat a level as nothing except an obstacle between you and the endpoint, you will miss what the space is actually trying to do.
御人、そこの御人。この天宝寺は今や御仏の教えより外れたが、皆そうであることを捨て、死なずの探求に魅入られてしまいました。
For this section of the video, I want to narrow in on a specific storyline in the game. It takes place in the Senpou temple. When you first explore this area, you will find a peaceful monk called Kotaro who is mourning the lost children he was meant to protect. He seeks a pure white flower to help him reach them. As you continue throughout the temple, you will find the monks that are infested with a centipede. This centipede is an infestation that is caused by drinking the rejuvenating waters. The centipede keeps the host alive by repairing their bodies and preventing death. As you keep exploring this temple, you will reach the bottom of this lake and find a passage describing a journey to enlightenment that reads, "For an age I have been blessed by the worm. To be undying is to walk the eternal path to enlightenment. Thus I must become enlightened to understand why I cannot die." In Buddhism, the ultimate goal is nirvana, the total liberation from the cycle of rebirth and suffering. These monks believed that if they could achieve eternal life, they could achieve enlightenment. They became so obsessed with escaping death that instead of transcending their worldly desire, they became consumed by it, distorting the Buddha's teachings into a justification for immortality. As you continue progressing through the level, you will find an armored knight guarding the bridge. You must kill him by throwing him off the bridge, and he yells. If you read the firecrackers description earlier in the game, it reads, "Firecrackers from across the southern seas, sold by little Robert and his father to raise funds in their travels. Their voyage brought them to Japan. Here they will seek the undying in an attempt to extend Robert's life." Robert's father was told to guard the bridge in exchange for the monks to cure his dying son. There was something Robert's father didn't understand, however. As you continue through the level, you will find the pure white flower Kotaro asked for. Surrounded by many bundled Shiso statues that represent a Buddhist deity who acts as the guardian of children and the unborn, intended to shield these children in the afterlife. These monks, in a desperate search for eternal life, started experimenting on hundreds of children to use them as vessels of immortality, All of them, except one, died in the experiments, with a Shiseo statue tribute being left after they died. Robert's father didn't know that instead of curing his child, he would become another victim of these experiments. If you choose to give Kotaro the flower back, he will explain how he remembers the children he was protecting were the children of the rejuvenating waters, and the pinwheel was for the only one who survived. As the experiment succeeded, she was moved to a realm beyond the monks, which we can access in the Halls of Illusion. Kotaro then asks us to spirit him away so we can go to this realm, and hopefully see the children again. When we return to the Halls of Illusion, this happens.
おお、あんたか。よく来てくれたな。ほら、みな、忍さんも来てくれましたよ。ああ、巫女様たち、ちゃんと挨拶しなきゃ。ああ、そうか。忍さんには見えないか。
落ちぬ巫女たちか。
そうさ。見えないけれども、いるんだよ。巫女様たちもありがとうと言っている。みな。
The reason this story stood out to me so much is because while it is obviously very dark and depressing, it ends in a very beautiful way. After everything the children have been through, they seem to have finally found some peace, with Kotaro reunited with them. Like the rest of Sekiro, there's a lot of pain in the story, but also a lot of beauty.
Be safe, friend. Don't you dare go alone.
If you go on YouTube, you will find no shortage of videos talking about how From Software games helped people go through very difficult moments in their life. But there was this one comment from this video that really stood out to me. It reads, "Dark Souls helped me get out of the depression I was suffering from Crohn's disease. I figured if I could kill Ornstein and Smough, I could handle anything." And I think that comment gets to the core of why these games help people through hard times so often. In life, sometimes we don't have the privilege to try over and over again until we succeed. Sometimes the outcome of a situation is out of our hands. But in these games, if you are patient, disciplined, and calm, eventually you will succeed. They put a mountain in front of you that seems impossible to climb, and before you know it, you will be looking down from the top, proud of what you have accomplished. I think for me, the core message I get from these games is that failure is inevitable. If you're going to try anything, you're going to fail. But it is your will to keep going that will determine whether that failure defines you or not. Seeing these videos and playing these games kept reminding me of a few quotes from Volition in Disco Elysium. Sekiro and Disco Elysium could not be more different games. One is quiet, introspective and built around dialogue, while the other is mechanical and demands mastery through failure. But I think that they both offer something similar to players going through dark times. They both gave me a similar message, that progress is slow, failure is inevitable, and the only way forward is to keep going anyway. And I think what ruins the enjoyment of Sekiro for some players is obsession with reaching the end. If every level is just a path to the next boss, and every boss is just a wall to break through, eventually all you're gonna see is frustration. But if you slow down, pay attention, and accept failure as part of the progress, the game will start to open up. The gameplay becomes rewarding, the world becomes beautiful, and the story begins to hit a lot harder. Progress in Sekiro does not come from obsessing over your deaths. It comes from staying on the road long enough to learn from failure, to see what is in front of you, and to keep moving forward anyway. And with that done, I'll leave you with the few quotes from Volition I was talking about.
You'll get it in the next life. Do what you can with this one while you're alive, before it's too late. You can stop. Just wade through the hell, month after month, year after year. The urge is strong, but you are stronger. Listen, it's okay to take a few minutes to yourself. Sit down and have a breather. This is all you have, but it's still something. streets and sodium lights, the sky, the world, you're still alive. In honor of your shit, which you kept together in the face of total unrelenting terror, day after day, second by second. The road to healing is going to be a long one. Stay the course. You will make it someday. Just remember that you've made it this far, and it's just a bit farther now. Let's finish this. I'm on your side.